It's time. Time to get inspired and empowered. To realize it's never too late to create your next amazing story. Get ready to break through, transform, and start living the life of your dreams. So, are you ready? Truly ready to begin your journey to create your next amazing story in life and love? Great. Let's jump in with your host, Life and Love Transformational Coach, Suzanne Oshima.
Welcome, everybody, to the It's Never Too Late show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a life and love transformational coach at Your Next Amazing Story. I'm so excited because today we have a very special guest, Dr. John Gray, and he is the author of several books, but most notably, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And ladies, I know you've heard of that book. So today we're going to talk about It's Never Too Late to Understand Men. And John would definitely know, not only because he wrote the book, but also because he's the man himself. So welcome, John. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Well, I'm happy to be with you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so I would love to find out, because I remember when the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus came out, and I remember thinking, my God, this is a really different book. So what made you write that book?
Well, my background's rather unique, so I have a unique perspective. I grew up with 5 brothers, and I became a monk in my 20s, a celibate monk. So I didn't really know much about women. Although as a teenager, I liked women a lot, had lots of sex, but then gave it up for personal development, spirituality, and so forth. And I was the personal assistant to the Maharishi of the Transcendental Meditation movement. That was a big part of my life a long time ago. And then I came out to the world, and my brother was bipolar, and meditation didn't fix it. So I went to study psychology, and I became a counselor. And as a counselor, my first thing was teaching sex, because if you've been a monk celibate for 9 years, all you think about is sex. It's quite fun. So I would ask women what they really liked and enjoyed in sex, what made them happy. And I learned so much. Most people don't have those interviews before they have sex. And so I created workshops where everybody could talk openly. And that evolved into, it's really the love and the purpose of sex. I got very, very clear that sex is a waste of energy. It's pleasurable, just like sugar. But it's a waste of energy unless it's with love, unless it's to generate the feelings of love. Mm-hmm. Love is something that it's literally like a bank account. You generate it, and you go out and you give love in the world, and generally people drain it out of you, and you have to replenish it. So many couples, they fall in love, and they still love each other, but they don't feel the love. And feeling the love is so, so very important. And to continue that, making love is very, very important. Sex is not the only way to make love. It's intimacy. It is the most powerful way, but you don't have to have the most powerful way to get to the top of the mountain. You just have to start walking, and you really can't get to the top until you start walking. And that's through good communication. That's through security, safety, intimate conversation. Intimate conversation is probably the key to fulfillment today. And then you can make love. And this is something we have to keep doing. Otherwise, it dries up. Literally, it's like the garden. If you don't tend to the garden, the plants all die. They go away. You water them. You care for them. You get them food. They thrive. So that's how I got involved in it. And when I was a counselor, what I saw in the universities, which is still the case many places, they were all saying that men and women were the same. Well, I clearly understood women were different. They were like from another planet, because having been so introspective as a monk for 9 years, 2 things. One is I knew myself inside out. 2, I know my thoughts. I know my feelings. I know my motivations. Most people don't have that self-reflection of what's underneath things. If something bothered me, I could get right to the root of it and let it go so quickly. And very few things bothered me. I was able to experience unconditional love, which is what, if people dedicate their life to personal growth, they learn to do. So then I got, with Bonnie, and it was like another person from another planet. And I started to Bonnie's my wife of 34 years. I started to realize that, I needed to understand this so I could give her what she needed. But quite often, if people don't have that foundation of inner happiness, they're empty. So what happens when their partner's not giving them what they want, rather than being curious and trying to find out what they need, instead they try to change their partner. So what we have is we have basically all of our negative emotions are primitive manipulations to get more. If you're angry, it's usually to intimidate, threaten, to get more. A fear-based manipulation. If you're sad and hurt, I mean, these are real feelings. I never say deny emotion, but just know where they come from. They're these automatic reactions which are trying to change someone, to elicit empathy, to get people to give you what you need. You know, someone cries, oh, let me help you. You know, it's a tenderness there. Fear, although fear does protect us, tell us what to be afraid of, it really is another manipulation to justify not taking action, that we're concerned we will not be successful. Life takes courage, and fear holds us back, and we justify holding ourselves back and having people do things for us rather than us having to do it by being afraid. And again, as I say this, I'm just pulling the curtains on negative emotions, but they're very, very important because they're 90% of our brain.
Right.
And, we only have a little handful right here, literally a handful of DNA, which is human, and the rest is monkey and lizard. So we have to recognize, if we want to have love, really, a lot of it, the juice of it comes from the emotional brain. The unconditional part of it comes from this part of the brain. And unconditional love it's not like a relationship is a give and take for sure. But once you balance the give and take, then what happens is then you overflow and you feel you're giving without having to receive. And that can be an illusion, because quite often we imagine we're going to get, therefore we freely give as if we've already gotten. And that's just human nature. If I gave you a check for $1 million, you'd feel like a billionaire for a day until the check bounced. So that's what happens for people in relationships, is I found the person, they're right, everything's going to be great. The imagination goes into what's possible. But when it doesn't happen, we feel, we can feel hurt, we can feel betrayed, we can feel foolish, we can feel I can't trust myself. And these are issues that people carry around inside, because we all have made mistakes. And feeling you make a mistake is often painful. And so therefore we make a mistake, it's painful. We tend to not want to look at our own mistakes, and we tend to put the mistake on somebody else, because there's always two sticks for every fire. You rub them together and there's a problem. There's cause and effect. There's 1,000 causes for every effect. This is like so many different reasons why somebody bumped my car. It could have been, I always knew that was the wrong car for me. It could be, I felt like I shouldn't park in that neighborhood. I felt like, it was a Saturday as opposed to on a Monday when I should have been there on a Monday. It could be so many different things that contribute, but we need to always look at, we're not full victims. And ultimately, kind of a new age thought is we create our reality. I see people don't create your reality, but if you start recognizing that you are, that everything you do results from your actions, your decisions, your thought process, your doubts, whatever, your lack of love, then you realize that you do create your reality. And when you get to that place of not feeling like a victim, then you can start using this amazing body, mind, spirit, emotions to generate more of what you want in life.
Right. So now that's interesting that you say that about, playing in the victim mode. Would you say that we're 100% responsible for everything that happens in our life?
Well, what I'm saying is, unless you're conscious that you're creating your life, you're not responsible. It's literally, some people are unconscious. They just whenever you're feeling victimized, you're not conscious of how you contributed to the situation. And it's not to minimize the fact that somebody hits you, they bruise you, you're hurt. There's no question about that. But you have to go, gee, wasn't there a part of me that was a little too greedy? A little bit of part of me was a little manipulative, a little part of me that wasn't overly generous, wasn't listening to my inner guides. Some people don't even know they have intuition, which guides them. We have logic, which is very, very important. Everything I do, I try to filter through logic. But my intuition is so active, and it's a feminine side of me. It's intuitive side. And often women follow their intuition, and then when they're not logical with it, then what happens is things don't, it doesn't balance out. Or sometimes people are too logical and they don't balance it with their feelings. So we have to learn how to fine tune this guidance system that then we are responsible for everything. I mean, literally, we create everything around us, but we can't change other people. That's the other big part of this whole thing is your partner is someone that if you attempt to change them, and one of the ways we particularly try to change is by punishing, shaming, threatening, using negative emotions, withholding love. All these instinctive reactions work in a monkey world. Okay, in a monkey world, that's how you got what you wanted. They didn't have this human brain, which is so advanced, it's capable of recognizing that if I give what somebody needs, they will give me more. Not that concept, but you got to figure out what is it that person needs at that time. And we do everything which is counterproductive. We sabotage ourselves. If you hurt me, then I want to hurt you back. Well, if I hurt you back, it doesn't settle the deal. You want to hurt me back again. Because everybody's monkeys in that sense. They feel like, oh, you hurt me. They're not thinking, well, you hurt me because I hurt you. But the reality is that's the case, or somebody else hurt them. So we need to understand these distinctions between men and women, which I'm getting at now, which is that there's things that women need to feel really good and things that men need to feel really loved and good. And they're not the same. But if you don't have someone explain that to you, and you see all this evidence that it's true once you start hearing these ideas of men are from Mars, women are from Venus. When you recognize that what women need more than men, way more than men, is someone to listen to them.
Right.
That's connection. And we now know biologically, which I talk about in recent books, biologically, women's well-being is very much directly linked to estrogen production, hormones. Mm-hmm. Hormones are so significant, and they're so out of balance today. But when women are independent, solving their own problems, they're not in relationships, they're doing it themselves. Nothing wrong with that if she has a personal life that balances it to generate the hormones of interdependence or even dependence, where you're dependent on someone, but not fully dependent. You're an independent person and you have things you depend on your partner for. That's called interdependence. That's reciprocity, interaction. And interdependence comes from, you got to have both sides, independent and dependent. But that's like a word that nobody wants to acknowledge. That's weakness. That's not good. But that's the foundation of relationship. I need my wife. I need her love. I need her so much. You know, I need the intimacy. It's a foundation for fulfillment for me to fully express my gifts. You know, Maslow talked about, back in 1930, he talked about when your survival needs and security needs, when you can pretty much handle that yourself, then your emotional needs become paramount. They become as important as eating. And that's love. So we have to figure out, how do I get a man to feel so loved? And what do I need to love myself and to get the love I need? So it would look like one of the key things in Mars Venus is that women basically need to be heard, need empathy. But you have to learn how to communicate to a man so that he'll give that to you. If you complain, anytime you complain to a man, you're telling him he failed you. Whether you're saying that or not, that's what he's going to hear. Okay, so you know, you could take a lot of courses for men to learn how to hear anything and think, oh, okay, this is good feedback. But 99.9% of men are not going to be able to hear you when you complain. A little bit's okay, and there's a way to even do a little bit, which is better. What would that be? Well, if you want to complain, you'd always start with a buffer. You'd say, let's say you want to complain, he leaves the lights on. That's a big one for my wife. He left the lights on. So she'd say, John, I know you turn the lights out a lot. So you know what? She already knows my reaction. You know, she says, you never turn the lights out. What do you mean I never turned them out? I turned them out yesterday. So you used to start with, what is their defense? I know you turn the lights out a lot, but sometimes you forget. I'd really appreciate if you remember, if you try to remember. You know, there's this word try. I mean, there's some women are like sergeants. I don't want to hear trying. I want doing, you know.
Right.
Like, this is not loving, you know. This is like, you know, we try to do our best. And you know, you go to these military self-improvement groups, you know, don't try, do, you know. All these people just feel like losers in their life because life is about a series of mistakes to get better and better. And some things you're never going to master, but you can try. And I try to be the best person I can, and I've done quite well. I'm never
Right.
perfect. I leave the lights on. What can I say? So that's a buffer statement. Now, let's say it's something that really upsets her more personally. You need to be able to share that. So that would be, I'm too late, 2 hours late for dinner. I forgot to call. I was busy giving a talk. And I got 50 reasons for why these things happen occasionally. But what I learned as a man, not to give any of them. That's just arguing. And I remember watching Clint Eastwood movies where the hero of the show, there's always a good reason why he disappointed the woman, but he never tells her.
Right.
And I go, just tell her, just explain to her. But actually, there's a time and a place to explain when she says, I really need to understand why that happened, as opposed to, I need you to understand how I feel. And that's the most important thing. You create a lot of tension there where you don't explain yourself until she's feeling fully heard and you understand why she's disappointed and you can validate it. And sometimes this is the problem. Men have no idea how to validate a woman because many of the things she's upset about are, in our world, are minuscule. In our world, she's overreacting. In our world, it's irrational. In our world, it's not reasonable, but it's how she feels.
Right.
So you have to create a context to validate, well, that's how she feels, even if it's not reasonable right now. And I'm not saying it's never doesn't have reasons, but ultimately, I pretty much live happy all the time. And when things happen, I create a story around it that makes it much more reasonable to feel good. Everything we feel emotionally is based on the stories we tell ourselves. Well, that's bad. Well, you forgot. That means you don't love me. Well, no, he forgot. Maybe that means that he's got a smaller hippocampus, which is biological truth. And under stress, they forget relational activities. Under stress, women remember relational activities. These are like realities. You can measure the hippocampus in a woman's brain is twice as big as a man sometimes. And under moderate stress, blood flow goes there for a woman where she remembers her obligations. So what you see today is women when they're stressed, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to do this. And when men are stressed, they're zooming in and focusing on a football game or playing a video game. They're not thinking about all that stuff. We have biological setup inside of us that goes way beyond culture. Culture is a beautiful thing. Culture is there to support men and having the best hormone balance there is. And culture is there to support women and having the best female hormone balance she has. But as Maslow pointed out, we have evolved beyond that. We need a new culture. It hasn't yet created. Okay, we're in the middle of a big mess, like making a big dinner, and there's chopped food here, there's messes here, there's stuff all over the place, and water's boiling. I mean, there's so much problems in relationships today, so much confusion. And I just have to say, my books are a shining light which say, this is a problem, this is how you solve it, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to learn, since I'm talking to women, you're on your independent masculine side, you're making testosterone most of the time, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you balance it and you start making more estrogen to balance the testosterone, more progesterone to balance the testosterone, and more oxytocin. These are like 3 really important hormones for women. And
so let's talk about that for a second, because I don't think a lot of women know how to balance that as a strong, independent woman, to balance that so it's more in alignment.
Oh, I have such empathy for women today. It's so hard. So many women I work with in my seminars, my classes, and they say, I date, I'm an attractive woman. I take care of myself. I'm successful. I'm independent. I'm not needy. And I just can't fall in love with a man, or, the men I'm with aren't really wanting to be involved with me. But generally what I hear from women is they can't fall in love. And, to fall in love, your estrogen levels have to become 20 times higher than a man. Okay, that's just biology. You can look at when women's estrogen levels are 20 times higher, they get horny and want to have sex with a guy. That's reality. They've done those tests.
Right.
And if you want to have an orgasm, it's 20 times high. It's 20 times the estrogen level of an average healthy male. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is, you're getting up in age. A lot of these guys, their estrogen levels are too high. Their testosterone levels are low. So unless a man has plenty of testosterone, you tend to overshadow him with more testosterone, and there's no attraction. See, attraction is like magnets, positive and negative pole.
Right.
They attract each other. If you get two positive poles, there can be some interest, but when you get close, there's repelling. There's just, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. And sometimes, disgusting. Like I want to just ease women's guilt when you're with a guy and he starts whining about his life and you're just so turned off and you don't want to listen to him. You feel guilty because, if you're wanting to talk about your life, you want somebody to listen to you.
Right.
You want everything. Now take that to another level. Some women, if they have that feeling inside, they go, to themselves as well. That's really when you're way on your male side. And ironically, to find balance, you have to go further to that side. Weak, needy, irrational, non-logical. Because what that's about is finding balance. If you're way on the male side, which is detached, analytical, logical, anything happens. There's always a logical way to feel good about it. Well, that's in the past. Nothing I can do about it now. Well, that's in the future. We don't know for sure it's going to happen. Be here now. Be present in the now. This is all great Mars stuff, and this is the best way for men to deal with stuff, with humor, with lightness. And if it's a broken heart, there is a place where, men can go more deeply into their estrogen side. Why? Because it was such a loss, such an attachment that the estrogen is so high, they need to process it like a woman. They need someone to hear their pain, to connect with them, and so forth, to be heard. But biologically, men do not need nearly as much as women to be heard in terms of empathy, in terms of compassion. What men need is solutions. When a man, that's why he's always interrupting you with solutions, because he wants to solve the problem. Because when he can solve the problem, you feel that you're needed, you feel you're contributing, you feel you've got something to offer, and that's your male side. Now, every woman can relate to that. You like that as well. The problem is when you're on that side, your stress levels go up if you're not also generating in your life estrogen. Now, here's the great thing, or progesterone. Progesterone is produced by social bonding. Estrogen is produced by interdependence, actually by needing someone. And if you feel you're doing it all yourself and you can't trust others, you're going to always be on your male side. It's your male side that thrives when you go, okay, can't trust other people. I got to do it myself. It's up to me. That's good male stuff. That's what makes young guys into men. Unfortunately, they don't have that anymore. That's all changing. They don't have to do anything to get women. They can go right online and to the subconscious mind, they do pornography. They're becoming so weak. They're like children of rich men who never had to earn anything. If you can go online and get sex is the ultimate for the man. It means a woman loves him. She's willing to be fully intimate with him. She'll take off her clothes with him. That means she feels safe with him. That means he's earned his way in. And that is the key to building testosterone in men, is to feel I'm successful. But for women, the key is to feel secure, safe, and then experience a connection that happens from that. And, it's a big picture. It's sort of a big understanding. To simplify it down, what's happening today in our world is women are too far on their male side, meaning that they're not enough on their female side. Okay, I could never say you're too far on your male side. I'm just saying you're neglecting your sex you're born with. And there's qualities of that. And in order to come back to your female side, you're going to have to go extremely to the female side. So let's just look at male-female for a moment. Male side of us is logical. Female side of us is emotional. If you're logical all the time, to find balance, you need to be emotional way over there. So you're going to become non-logical emotional, and you have to give yourself room to overreact, room to feel whatever you feel, room to be needy, but not necessarily when you're talking to him. Okay.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because this is the picture I got, was that when a woman becomes too emotional with the man that she's dating or in a relationship with, that it could be too much, and where he feels like she's the drama queen, or, oh God, she's crying again. So how can a woman balance that? Because you're saying go all the way over there, but sometimes it can be too much for a man, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't look to a man for everything. You look for a man for the good stuff.
Hmm.
And you talk to another woman who's not gonna shut you down. But
Right.
see, when you feel hurt, when you feel powerless, when you feel unhappy, and that's how men will interpret the emotional distress, okay, negative emotions. Oh, why are you so unhappy? You have to realize, for us, what we do is forget it. There's nothing you can do about it. Or what do you want me to do about it? If it's what do you want me to do about it, how important is it? Because I got other things to do. So you have to, men are constantly going, is it, how important is it? What can I do about it? Forget it, be done with it. And the problem, and why I think Men Are From Mars is so significant, is most of my ideas are counter what they're teaching in school. And people have problems because of what they're teaching in schools. Not completely, there's a lot of wisdom in schools, but this whole men and women are the same business is nonsense. And we don't have a culture, which is what my books provide, is a way of understanding how women can be most fulfilled in their interplay with the world, and their interplay with men, and their interplay with children, and their interplay with the universe, and their interplay with meditation. All these kinds of things have jumped to a new level. Now, what happens is when you have this emotional fulfillment, coming back to Maslow, then what happens is your gifts come forward. This is self-actualization, is what he said. Now, I became self-actualized when I wrote Men Are From Mars. I became enlightened through meditation, but self-actualized, my mission, my purpose evolved into the world at that time. And, I can, that's my fingerprint, evidently. It's who I am. You're an apple tree, you're an apple tree.
Right.
I can't do everything, but I do what I do quite well. It had an impact in service to the world. So as we get older, we're about service to the world, but you can't experience that freely and fully unless you always tend to the other aspects. And right now, our culture does not tend to women's needs when it comes to finding that balance. So understanding men goes a long way, because men can help you find balance. There's skills in my new book, Beyond Mars and Venus, 400 pages, a lot of skills to apply in the dating situation. The first thing for women who are single, who are wanting to find a wonderful, loving relationship, is to recognize that you don't have one, so you're doing something wrong. Okay? Fun, da-da. Not men are doing something wrong, not shortage of men. Nope, nope, nope. I know you're going to be upset when I say that, but there's not a shortage of men. There's plenty of single men out there. They're just not good enough for you because you don't know what you need. You expect too much from men. You don't have your heart open to be embracing the imperfection of men and the appreciation of men that happens, that allows you to embrace the imperfection of men. And that can only come when you find estrogen balance inside your life. You're incapable of seeing the good in a man. I mean, I can't convince you that men are good, because you can't see it until your estrogen levels rise up. When your estrogen levels rise up, you realize, wow, my life is wonderful, and men are great. They'll empty the trash for me. I can get them to do anything. And you can, once you learn how to come back to your female side, then take it a step further. Then you start to enjoy sex. When you enjoy sex, you control the man. You can get him to do anything if you enjoy sex. You just have no idea how simple we are as men, that you can control, meaning get what you want without having to tell us anything except make little requests after sex. Uh, and,
It's it's that simple.
Well, it's complicated to get there. You can't
Right.
enjoy sex till you get your life in order, and that has a little to do with him, more to do with you. So what it looks like is understand what stimulates the estrogen in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and only focus on that for half the month. The other half of the month, you want to focus on those behaviors that stimulate progesterone. Now, this is when a woman's younger, it's very clear in her menstrual cycle. For many of the women listening are already through menopause, so they don't have that clear menstrual cycle, but the behaviors are very, very significant that produce those different hormones. You're supposed to learn those behaviors before you get to the place where your mind, your spirit is guiding you, not just your hormones. But so when the estrogen's on the rise, you naturally feel a greater need for men. Okay, that's just biology. It will, when your period is over, your well-being is dependent on feeling I'm not alone in the world. I have others to support me. it really doubles for 5 days before ovulation. So that's when you have to feel surrender, trust, openness, emotions, vulnerability, opening up. Then after that, biologically, progesterone gets produced and needs to be dominant. And progesterone is not based upon depending on someone. It's based upon doing what you like. And in those, at that time, sex, if we just look at sex, okay, so clear in the bedroom, the differences are there. When you want to increase estrogen, you feel like you depend on a man to make you happy, okay? You want it, you need it, you depend on him to make you happy. And progesterone, it's not so much you depend on him doing anything for you, you take from him. You take, so you're in a sense more the dominant player in the sex. You actually touch his body and you enjoy it. When you see his erection, you go, I did that. It's all about for you, you're taking. And that's hard for women because they're also used to, I'm giving to get, I'm giving to get, I'm giving to get, which is unfortunate. It's when you're feeling full, you don't give to get. You give because you got. See, that's the goal, okay? And when I talk about goals, we're talking about very high spiritual truths here, but you got to know the direction. You got to know that when you're not getting what you want, you're going in the wrong direction. When you give to get, you will always get less. To understand that. If you're a woman, this is your biggest lesson. The men, it's what they need to learn. If I want to get, I have to give. Okay, that's men's lesson to learn. Okay, if I want to have this, I got to work hard. I got to do things. I got to make changes. I got to get up and do something. That's my lesson as a man to learn. You do that automatically. Give, and then you complain, I don't get, because you don't know how to get. You cannot get more. It's so amazing how complementary men and women are. Lessons are so different, and how we do the opposite. So you're busy all day long giving to get paid, giving to accomplish your goals, giving to achieve this, giving to have a better life, giving to get. Then suddenly you're supposed to shift gears in your life and not give except for what you have. That starts with gratitude, starts with feeling gratitude, being grateful for what you have. And then giving from that place of fullness. So what it looks like in practical sense, got this big picture here. Practically, you go on dates with men who are more interested in you than you're interested in them. That's a golden rule. These are the nice guys. They got a good job. They're safe. They don't excite you sexually at all. Okay? Just forget about the sex for now. Every woman, when they go after a man because they're sexually attracted to him, rarely does it work out. I mean, I've seen women, you get a dangerous guy with tattoos, rides a motorcycle, doesn't have a job, but loves sex. She's like, okay, I'm all turned on. I want to be with him. What? And not that everybody has that, but I've seen these dating shows. I go, these women are making the worst decisions based upon feelings they have below the belly button. You don't make decisions there, and you don't make them from your heart either. You make them from your head. You live in your head, women. So you start with your head. You start where you are. Then you let him earn feelings of affection. Then you let him earn feelings of arousal, which starts up here, goes to your heart, goes down. Then you have a chance of actually being on your female side when you're with him. So if you stop pursuing men, because see, if you're successful, you're good at pursuing. You go after that goal. You got to not do that. You got to stand in the room and see who's interesting to you, feels safe to you, that you feel no sexual attraction to. Just, almost like the nice guy. I hear women, I meet these guys, they're all nice, they're nice, but they don't do anything for me. Well, yeah, because you're just expecting it to happen right away because all those bad relationships in the past happened right away, and you think that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not. For men, that's the way it's supposed to be. You start out, okay, I look at a room of 20 women, maybe 3 I could have sex with. Okay, that's my 3 or maybe 10. That's why for men it's hard because when you're young, it can be all 100. Just say yes and I'll do it. But that's only the first requirement. The second requirement is to spend time with her and feel and do things for her and feel appreciated by her. Then your heart starts to feel like I'm successful. Then you start having conversations and you admire the way she thinks. You create a space for her to have her thoughts. You'd have your thoughts. And after you've had lots of conversations and you're still turned on to her, then that's a good relationship. But see, most guys, if you talk too much, they'll lose their sexual interest in you because you don't have the mental compatibility. There is something called compatibility. So you see young people, they start getting aroused. They stop talking because if you
Right.
talk, it goes away because they don't have any compatibility here. What you want is to be able to have conversations, to do things for each other. And then you actually have the strong sexual feelings. You keep the sexual feelings. So men, it's a journey of how long can I stay turned on to her, which is all confused in males today. It's a whole nother problem. This is what you're up against, women. It is a problem, but you have a problem too. His problem, all these guys are doing pornography. They're doing online sex and they're masturbating their brains away. It's an addiction. It's cocaine. It's like you women, you're eating all the carbohydrates and the junk foods and you're using your vibrators. All these things are artificial stimulants that keep you from being able to experience the proper stimulation from normal life. And so what we have to do is come back, if you're a woman, come back to being in a relationship where the number one thing is boring but safe. Then once it's boring but safe, there's no part of you that's trying to win him over. You're letting him win you over. So you can try these new skills like being vulnerable and expressing your feelings. Because if you lose him, you weren't that interested in him anyway, but he was safe. Let him win you over by making safety and security the primary need that you have, to feel I can express what's inside of me and nobody's going to reject me, ridicule me, abandon me, make me wrong, cut me off. And you basically say, I just need to talk for about 10. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. I had quite a stressful day. This is called Venus Talk. I go into more details on it. This is an amazing technique. There's subtleties to it, but simply put, it would look like this. I come home, my wife goes, oh, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, hi, honey, how's your day? And she said, oh, terrible day. I just want to talk about it for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's it. And if you don't say anything, I just want to tell you what happened, and then I feel closer to you because so much happens in my life. I want to connect with you. So you don't have to say anything. You don't have to fix anything or do anything, solve anything. And after a while, you don't have to say that so much. And then you just start talking. And there's going to talk for 8 minutes about stressors and then 2 minutes for how great your life is. So he'll watch you go through the amazing transformation of having all these negative emotions and then coming through it with no solution and being happy again. This is a phenomena that men have never witnessed, that somebody could have all this negative emotion and then suddenly feel great. How does that happen? Nothing has happened in their life, which is different, except something really has happened. Somebody heard how she feels. Somebody who loves her who didn't interfere. Men don't know that. So you have to train them, and you have to train yourself to be that vulnerable. Now, I have a whole training for women to do this. I help them personally, my classes and so forth. It is hard. This is what therapy is all about. You don't have to go to a therapist. It's good to go to a therapist, get some training, but most want to intellectualize anyway, or they just let you talk. See, it's not just talking. Talking is the tip of the iceberg. It's talking about something that was disturbing to you and what was the emotion linked to that, and then articulating how you feel emotionally and what you wished and wanted. This is like a whole art to going deep, 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 deep. So a man he can't relate to your stories because he has a whole different experience of life. You say, oh, there was so much traffic on the bridge. I go, so what? I love driving. I got through faster than anybody else, so I don't have the same experience as my wife. But if she says I was so frustrated, it was all this traffic and I was so disappointed because I wanted to get there on time and I couldn't get on time. I felt embarrassed because I arrived late. Everybody else was on time and I wasn't there. I really wanted to be there. It was a bummer. But anyway, I had a great time. Once I was there, it was fine. You see how you go through. Now, where did I learn this? Well, 9 years before I wrote Men Are From Mars, I listened to women 8 hours a day in my therapy room. And what's amazing, I did this test. I practiced giving no solutions, just processing their emotions, helping them see what they're upset about and expressing it and feeling that, connecting with that. And they would always leave happy. Nothing changed in their life except them. And that's what you got to get, women. When you're not happy with a man, he doesn't have to change. You have to change and you'll be happy. Then you can give him what he needs to give you more. And what does he need to give you more? You have to learn not listening to him, okay? You don't listen to him. Don't ask him what he's feeling. All that stuff. Women are like preying on men. I want to know what's inside. It's like you're wanting to penetrate him. what you need. Come back to sex. You need a guy to penetrate you, to take you to heights of ecstasy and intimacy. Don't penetrate him. Let him go into you. So when you listen to someone, you penetrate them. That's why women need to be heard. Men need to penetrate. They need to go in there and then feel like I made a difference. So that's where at the last couple of minutes, you always go, oh gosh, I feel so much better. I feel closer to you. I love you so much. And I love my job. I don't want to quit my job. Because he's always going to say, if you're unhappy, quit that job,
Right.
So you got to train them, because everything in the survival mode, in the security world, a woman's upset. What she wants from a man is, give me a solution. What can we do to solve the problem for me? That's the way the world used to be. You were pregnant, you had a baby, you're breastfeeding. You need a guy to do all this stuff for you. Now, what do you need a guy for? You need a guy to help bring you back into balance, to bring you back from being way over here on the female side, but to make it safe to first go there, and then naturally you'll come back. And I can't bring her back. I can just make it safe for her to go there. She'll come back on her own. And this is why, you're talking to somebody, maybe you're really upset and you talk for a little while, and then you feel like, okay, it's not such a big deal. But men think, they hear right away, it's not such a big deal. They want to give you the solution. You find it yourself. And this is where we come back to being adults, not children. And not parents of children, where we feel responsible to change our partners, that our love is about guiding them and telling them what to do and telling them how they should think differently. No, that's not my job. If my partner needs that, she'll find it. My job is to provide the safety she needs to be herself. Women need to practice not trying to change men. Learn how to love, and you can't love till you use men. You need the strong love. Happiness comes more from progesterone. That's half the month. The love comes from, I need you. You have provided what I need. And so if I say I need you to be perfect, I'm always going to be disappointed and unhappy. So that's where you have to have realistic expectations and belief and understanding that everybody becomes a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. It's almost like a dance where you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's natural. That's the way life is. There's no just straight line to everything gets better. You got to have these little backups. And usually when he backs up, she goes, see, I knew it. I can't trust him. I can't trust him. What are you talking about? You can't trust him to be perfect. That's where you got to get how crazy we get. I hear women go, oh, he did this. I just can't trust him. What? What do you mean? Can you trust him to drive the car? Can you trust him to do his best? Can you trust him to go empty the trash when you ask him to do it? There's a million things you can trust him for. But, I can't trust him to be that vulnerable. Well, then you look at, okay, maybe he's not good at that yet. But you mean you got all these other things to keep your heart open. But as soon as you say, oh, I can't trust him, kabang. That is the hardest thing for women to overcome, is this idea that when you are in cortisol land, what happens is your attitude at that moment, I got to do it myself. I can't trust anybody. That's your react. That's your biggest elephant in life to overcome. Is you go into, I can't trust. Better do it myself. Nobody can do it. I can do it better. I'm the perfect. I'm best. I have to do it all myself. I'm exhausted. Nobody helps me. I resent everybody. I don't love. Okay. It goes all these places with women. I've heard it a million times. So she goes into, I can't trust. Just as women jump right into, I can't trust, you have to understand where men go. Where do you think men go?
They pull back. When you don't trust, they withdraw.
And what do they feel when they withdraw?
They probably don't trust her, right?
It's I don't care.
Oh.
See, trust and caring are like the two flip sides of women need most security and safety to help them to trust. And men need messages that he's successful, that he gets paid for what he does, then he cares about his job. See, if I go to a job every day and they don't pay me, then screw this job, to say it politely.
Right.
That means I don't give a blank. It means I stop caring. This is the dark side of men. And if you've all been with men who just go, F you, I'm out of here, I don't care. Or the man who doesn't do that, the flip side of that is, oh, I have no energy. Oh yeah, I try, I can't do anything. I've given it motivation. I'm retiring. That all of that is I don't care anymore. Apathy. And you'll see this is where romance goes, is male apathy and women's mistrust. They're complementary. They're always, if you don't trust a man, he will stop caring. If a man stops caring, you will stop trusting. So in that case, you can go, oh, he doesn't care, so I'll do it myself. Or he'll say, oh, she does it herself. She doesn't trust me. I never do it good enough for her. So why should I even bother? I take her on a date. Nothing's ever good enough for her. She's always correcting me. And see, women, you unknowingly correct men, and you don't realize not to do that. You'll be in a restaurant, and this is on a date. Okay, we're coming back to dating. A lot of single women listening.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking you to this restaurant. Okay, one of the common things, he offers to pay for it, and you go, no, let's split it. No, let him pay for it. And the women go, well, no, I'm not ready to have sex with him. I said, oh, are you a prostitute or something? You can't let a man give to you, and that means if he pays the meal, you have to have sex with him? No, you're not a prostitute. It's his gift. Men, when they can give to you and you go, oh, well, thank you. You know, you can always offer, oh, shall we split it? And no, I'll pay for it. Oh, great, thank you. Big thank you. Light up. Oh, and that's so nice. Feels good to have somebody do something for me. Okay, that's one thing. Two, now that wasn't the correction though, but I thought to bring that up. The correction is, oh, this soup, you know, this is so expensive for this soup. I can't believe they're charging this much and it's not even hot. You know, my soup's not hot. Is your soup any good? You're suddenly complaining about the food that he brought you to that restaurant. What you don't know is that's his restaurant. He cooked that soup. That's his favorite remedy. His mother gave it to him. You've just insulted him to the deepest core because it's a romantic moment where he's trying to provide something for you and it's not good enough. So minimize complaints over and over. If it's little stuff, don't complain, and know there's sensitive moments. Okay, sensitive moments is when he's on a romantic date. Okay, that's when you really want to pump up whatever happens. You're having a good time, you know. I remember one time taking Bonnie. It's when I realized I wanted to marry her. Is I was on a romantic getaway and I took the wrong turn, ended up in Nevada. We missed the talk we were going to. We're going to something and some seminar or whatever and have romance as well. And I knew she really wanted to go, and I realized we're not going to make it on time. I stopped my car. I go, I don't know where I am. And there's a sign there that says Nevada. and I said, I don't know where I am. And, oh, this is terrible. And she says, she's looking around. She goes, I don't know where we are either. But this is probably one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen. Bang. I knelt to the heavens. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm a little bit like the absent-minded professor, and I can get lost sometimes when I'm driving because I'm thinking about something else or I'm talking. And so that has been a history for me with other women, where other women would get upset with me for not getting the direction right. You should have taken the turn. Why didn't you plan? Why didn't you do this? Or absolutely. So here was a woman who could see the positive rather than focus on the negative, and she maintained that. She is an amazing ability to look at the positive on things, but also, flip side, be completely vulnerable about what the stresses are in her life. But when she would bring them up to me, not all the time, and always, see, the thing is, talk about other people other than me. If ever there's a complaint about me, make sure it's a little bit bigger. Make sure you've already processed your emotions on it so your heart's open. So now you're just sharing with him what your feelings were. Okay, when you do this, this is how I feel, as opposed to I still feel angry with you.
Right.
But when you don't call, these are the feelings that I felt last night. I'm angry. And then you go right into, these are the feelings I felt last night. So it's like in the past tense, I'm angry, you didn't call me. It makes me feel, and there's three things it makes me feel. It makes me feel you don't care about me. It makes me feel like, why bother to make you a meal? It makes me feel terrified. Maybe you're dead, you know, you didn't show up. I don't know where you are. I depend on you, John. And now the whole secret with that is you don't share negative emotion with your husband, boyfriend, unless you already have processed it. You have to come back to love, but you want to communicate. This is my sensitivities. I want you to know. But the way you do it, so a man will really hear, is you say to him, I want to talk for just a few minutes. Please don't say anything. This is not a big deal. Now, clearly in your mind, it's a big deal because you want to bring it up so he knows. But if you look in that scheme of your whole life and you look in the scheme of your marriage, you look in the scheme of you want to be together forever, it's not a big deal. Put it bigger. So just say that to him. Yeah. Okay, even though emotionally you might be the big guy, you need to know. You just don't realize what goes on inside of me. Okay, good. But it's not a big deal. You're going to live, you know. We're not going to die because of this. You know, we're not going to go broke because of this. So you say it's not a big deal. And what will happen to any man, he'll relax.
Because he's going to feel like he's not being attacked, right?
That's it. He's not failing. He's not failing. Even attack is true, but the reality underneath, I feel attacked, is I feel that you're not appreciating what I do. You're not seeing me as your hero. You're not going to love me, because when you fall in love with a man, he's your hero. And then that goes away and you're like jaded and no man's a hero. I don't need him, whatever. That's your burnout. That's your lack of trust. You got to find that girl inside who can fall in love. And biologically, that comes about as you go back to your estrogen side. And as you get older, that's harder. So you need to work harder at this. And it means you're going to feel a little crazy doing it. So I have exercises in my book, Beyond Mars Venus, which is writing out the things that make you feel frustrated, the things that make you feel disappointed, the things that make you feel concerned, the things that make you feel embarrassed, what you wish, what you want. And then you come back to this place inside, which is your love, and you appreciate, and you feel forgiveness, and you feel understanding, wisdom comes forth. But negative emotions are just the blocks to love coming out. But sharing a negative emotion, first identifying them and then sharing them without acting on them. If you use negative emotions to act on them, meaning I'm going to use my negative emotions to change you, then they don't create the release. They don't make the estrogen. They actually make testosterone. They prevent you from going high into estrogen land. But if you go into your negative emotions to change yourself, see, that's a big distinction. I'm looking at my negative emotions as my salvation. Because women, you need to look at the crazy inside of you. And if you've got crazy going outside of you, you've got crazy going on inside.
Yeah.
It's outside, inside, it's the same. We create our mess. We're naturally drawn. If you feel all this mistrust, you're going to keep being turned on to men you can't trust. Don't listen to down south, okay? Go over here and let this go down to your emotions, which is process your emotions on a daily basis or every couple of days, because women's stress levels are higher than, they're high. Cortisol levels. When the adrenaline and cortisol are being produced, what's happening is you're making testosterone and your estrogen levels will start to go down. Now, that's not all the time. There's the case where a woman is more in touch with her female side and she goes into stress, but she feels, I have a man who can take care of me under stress, then her estrogen levels will rise. So dopamine, pleasure brain chemical, energy, motivation, that's why we feel so much romantic energy in the beginning as dopamine gets produced. So dopamine is danger, okay? But newness is danger because they got to make decisions. Is it right? So anything which is new, different, and then there's drugs and there's sugar. These all things stimulate dopamine. For men, they get addicted to ejaculation. I do advanced courses for men to learn how to have sex without ejaculating. You can have orgasms without ejaculating. That's when you can have the highest level of romantic love for a lifetime, and you'll be healthier. But not all men are suited for that. But I just need to throw in some pictures here of what happens. Men, as they get older, you're getting these men, they're older, their testosterone levels in our society are going down. That means they care less. When men's testosterone goes up, they care more. And when women's estrogen goes up, she trusts more. Okay, so as estrogen goes down, you do it yourself. Men go, I'm not motivated. I just want to watch TV, retire. All that stuff you're up against. So what you have to know is when you get in a relationship and you start having sex, okay, your job as a woman is to enjoy sex. There's nothing more stimulating to a man than a woman who enjoys sex. So I know for your audience, some are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, that if your estrogen levels are low, the vaginal walls will become thin and sex is painful. So how can you enjoy sex if it's painful? So I found, there are all kinds of treatments that women do. I've heard maybe it helped for some, didn't help for others. But there's one that works for my wife, and that is every night for 3 weeks, you put this special aloe vera in the vagina. Aloe vera heals wounds, okay? So you got irritation down there and so forth. And you put that aloe vera, you can put on your face this special aloe vera, and immediately your face will glow, go red. That's because blood flow goes there. So the reason the skin gets so thin and no blood flow going there, you're not making enough estrogen. So what you do is you put this up for 3 weeks, just put it inside, wash your hands really good, then put it inside, or use an applicator and swirl it around inside. But you've got to make sure you don't use the applicator again, because you don't want to get bacteria in there. And then what happens is the aloe vera, it's got some other things in it. It's got colloidal silver, it's got MSM, things that are really good for the skin. And that's at my website, it's at my store. There's 2 kinds of aloe vera. It's not the standard aloe vera, it's aloe vera with a lot of other things. And I can never remember the name of it. So you have to look at my store for that. But anyway, this is like essential. And I've helped so many women who privately told me, thank you so much for letting me enjoy sex again. But the second part of it, if you've been using a vibrator, clitoral stimulation, then you're going to have, I mean, there's nothing bad about that. It's just that then you can't experience the full benefit of enjoying the penis when it goes in. But here's to get a man's penis to be erect. Okay, that's another part of this whole thing, because he's probably doing porn. Most of these guys, if they can't get it up for their wives, they can get it up for a stranger. Okay, so if he's doing that, at least he's doing a stranger and not a real woman out there. So he might, but it's an addiction. You have to realize this is a serious addiction. It's starting to be recognized as a serious addiction, meaning it produces super high levels of dopamine, which causes the brain, without any choice, to rewire itself to depend on high levels of dopamine for arousal. And a woman can never produce, a real person can never produce that much dopamine, unless it's like the first night or something and it's a stranger and you're never going to see her again. That would also lower the estrogen so much that your dopamine could go high if you're a man.
Right.
So this is, it's amazing what's happening. But here's what you do when you're in the relationship with a guy is, he's usually a guy who ejaculates, has 1 orgasm. Okay, that's the standard. It's still beautiful to do, did it for many, many years. Is that the Japanese did research on men and orgasm, and they found that when men ejaculate on Saturday night, their testosterone levels drop back down, and slowly for 6 days, they start to increase. On the 7th day, they double. And then suddenly he's like got the juice again, but he can't masturbate during that time. This is where you want men to be able to read one of my books on this and hear this, or say, whoa, what an interesting thing to have double the testosterone.
Right.
Because when his testosterone levels double in your presence and you're being vulnerable, it will massively increase your estrogen. And it's just that the 2 forces, they're energies that interact together. You know, it's just how you feel when a man is confident, can do, I'll handle this for you. No sweat, no big deal, I'll do it. You just feel so, oh, okay. You know, I don't have to do everything myself. That's the energy, whether you're saying it or not, is the energy of testosterone in a man. And I know many women our society misunderstands testosterone. They think that men's aggression and anger and bad behavior, it comes from testosterone. Actually, it only happens, men only behave badly when their testosterone turns to estrogen. That's it. You can measure that. An aggressive man has high estrogen. An aggressive bull, his testosterone is high. This is where it came from. But when he's aggressive, his testosterone is converted into estrogen, and it floods his brain with emotion. And then he doesn't behave rationally. He can't connect with this part of the brain. He's now in the instinctive part of his brain, or the conditioned part of his brain. And if he's witnessed violence as a child, then he will become violent and have no control. If he's didn't witness violence as a child, then he will just withdraw. So it's the fight or flight, depending upon what the conditioning happens. And it's not just the conditioning from this life. We now know that conditioning clearly goes for 7 generations back. They've found this with animals, that the conditioning gets passed on. And then you have what's called instinctive knowledge, which all the way goes back to the monkeys, you know, and then goes back to the dinosaurs. Those genes are all in there. We can measure them now. That we are animals with we're a big elephant with a guy on top, and this is the guy on top, and he's got a stick, and as long as he feeds the elephant, he can direct it, but the elephant's doing what it's going to do. You have to be in charge. And, you know, people go, oh, I'm in charge. I say, oh, yeah, try saying to yourself, I'm going to eat a really good diet. And you'll feel all inspired. You can hear somebody talking about it. You're all motivated. Next day, even that evening, you're breaking it. That's right. This body's going to do what it's going to do. And it takes time to really let this part of the brain be in control. And for women, it's about the most powerful thing. It's looking at your emotions, understanding your emotions, listening to them like a little child is talking who doesn't yet have developed logic. Give that child the ability to say whatever it needs to feel, go to the levels of it, hold that child with love and understanding and empathy, then let it go and come back to being reasonable, rational, loving, unconditional, empathetic, all this stuff, not being a victim. You go way over to victim land. And that's the part of us that feels, why is this happening to me? I have nothing to do with it. Oh, I'm this big victim in life. Yeah, you can get all this sympathy and empathy and tell your story. And you need to do that because you need to feel those feelings. But usually, if you're doing it to get a result, you don't go fully into estrogen land. Estrogen land is, I need to look at these emotions, not to affect others, but to affect myself. Then what you get is you come back into balance.
Interesting. Well, gosh, John, this has been amazing. I mean, I could talk honestly forever to you. This is so fascinating. But unfortunately, we're going to have to close out this interview, but I would love for you to share with the ladies how they can find your books. What's your latest book?
Okay, everything I'm talking about here, a little bit was Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. But if you're more the independent woman, more mature, so forth, you're, to a great extent, if you're not finding love in your life, you're probably in role reversal, meaning you're too far on your male side, how to come back to the female side. So I wrote that book. It's called Beyond Mars and Venus. That applies to as we get older, but also applies to the younger generation as well, because everybody tends to be more in role reversal. I mean, you see some of these kids, they don't even know whether they're male or female. So it's just all mixed up inside. The hormones are out of balance. We're eating bad food, the pesticides, the GMOs, all these things are registered as estrogen in the body. It lowers testosterone in men. Here's what it does to women. If you eat pesticides or eat meat that has hormones in it, it says to your body, or if you take hormones, by the way, if you take the hormones, it says to your brain, you don't need to make the hormones. So if you don't need to make the hormones, you don't feel attracted to a man who can come to your, in a sense, fulfill your needs. You kind of go, well, I don't need a man. So you'll see as women lose touch with the estrogen, they don't need a man. And a lot of that low estrogen production really is because we get these things called xenoestrogens from the environment. They're in our meats, unless it's hormone-free meat. It's in pesticides bind with receptor sites and say to the brain, oh, you got plenty of estrogen. You don't need to make it. And these are things we need to make. If I'm depressed as a man, I need to make testosterone. So I need to get out there and do something. But if I can just easily get the highest testosterone booster there is by going online and watching porn, then I can just stay lazy and my whole body starts to retire. And this is what's happening to men. And anyway, I didn't answer your question. I threw in more. The question is MarsVenus.com. MarsVenus.com. My most recent book, you can get it at Amazon. You can get any bookstore, is Beyond Mars and Venus, New Relationship Skills for the Modern Times. We all need it. I think this is like building a new culture of understanding how to be a woman and a man at the same time. And for men, how to be a man and with all this, with greater emotional feelings and so forth.
Yes, I totally agree. And you've enlightened the women on so much about men and how they operate, and we so appreciate that. So thanks everybody for joining us on the It's Never Too Late show. Our show is available both in video format and audio format, which can be found at yournextamazingstory.com.
Love today's episode of the It's Never Too Late show? Then head on over to yournextamazingstory.com to continue the conversation, get access to show notes, and get more amazing content.